Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Mini Books Podcast with your host Gloria and Rogan, and today we are excited to dive into Special Book with You. We picked this one because it has really important lessons to share and we can't wait to talk about them. So let's get started. Okay, so have you ever picked up a book, and the title's just so bold, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt with this one. The Science of Getting Rich. Not just a way to get rich, but the science of it. Bold move, right?
Totally. And you got to remember, this is Wallace D. Wattles back in 1910. Industrial revolution's booming. Huge gap between the haves and have-nots. So he's tapping into that desire for a piece of the pie.
So this isn't some gentle self-help book. It had some bite back then.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But for us now, can we really pull a science of wealth from this? That's what we're going to dig into.
Right. And, we might find some surprisingly relevant stuff along the way, even if we don't buy into everything Waddle says.
Okay, so first thing that jumps out, Waddle says wealth isn't just about, luxury. It's essential for a full life. Not just your bank account, but your body, mind, even your soul to reach their potential. That's a lot.
It's like the opposite of that whole money is the root of all evil idea that's been around forever. Waddles is like, no, denying yourself abundance, that's denying your true nature. You can just imagine how that hit people back then.
But isn't that almost like justifying just wanting more stuff? Do we need to be rich to have good lives?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right.
And it's something I think we'll keep coming back to. But you make a good point. What we even mean by wealth is probably different now.
For sure. But wait, there's more. Waddle says getting rich is like science, not luck, not talent, not even your circumstances. He compares it to math, follow the steps, guaranteed success.
And that's where it gets really interesting looking back from now. This is way before all the think your way to success stuff. He wouldn't have said manifestation or whatever, but you could see the connection, right?
Okay, but doesn't that kind of ignore systemic barriers, privilege, just plain bad luck sometimes? Is that really empowering, or does it just make people feel like failures if they aren't rich?
You're hitting on a super important point. Waddles doesn't totally dismiss those external factors. He knows not everyone starts off the same. But his main thing is your inner world, your mindset. That's what shapes your outcomes most of all.
So mindset over circumstance. It's about what you can control.
Exactly. And this leads to one of his wildest ideas, what he calls the thinking stuff.
Okay, hit me with it. What is the thinking stuff?
So Waddles thought there was this invisible substance all throughout the universe. And get this, it responds to our thoughts. Think the right way, align with this thinking stuff, boom, wealth shows up in your life.
All right, now that sounds kind of like, one of those late night infomercials.
It does, doesn't it? But hold on, put yourself back then. Pre-quantum physics, we barely understood the subconscious.
So it was like tapping into something people felt, even if it sounds kind of mystical now.
Right. And honestly, doesn't it still resonate? Just maybe with different words. Vision boards, affirmations, even just that idea that thinking positive helps you get positive results.
Wait, are you saying this thinking stuff is connected to the law of attraction? Whoa.
There's definitely overlap. Both are about our thoughts having power to actually change things. Waddles wouldn't have said vibrations or anything, but the core idea is similar.
My mind is a little blown right now. So if we go with this, how do we actually use this thinking stuff? Does Waddles tell us how to manifest a yacht?
He gives some practical advice, but then there's a twist. He says the key to making it work is gratitude. And not just after you get what you want, but feeling grateful beforehand, as if it's already yours.
Now that doesn't make sense to me. How can I be grateful for something I don't even have?
It seems weird, right? But think of it this way. Gratitude's been proven to make you more positive overall. When you focus on what you appreciate, you're more optimistic, more resilient, and that can lead to actions that actually bring you success.
So it's like a mental trick. Or can gratitude really change how we see things, how we act more than we realize?
That's the question Wattles wants us to ask.
Yeah.
If we can tap into real thankfulness, even for small things,
yeah,
it could change our whole approach to life.
Intriguing. So it's not just about thinking yourself rich.
Nope, there's more. Wattles is clear. Action matters. He's not about sitting around visualizing money. He says, do your best work now. Where you are, don't wait for the perfect job or whatever.
So take action, but with the right mindset.
Exactly. Almost like a, early version of growth mindset. You master what you can now, that attracts better opportunities later.
Makes sense, but how much control do we have over our situations? Is this pull yourself up stuff realistic, with all the inequality out there?
Totally valid concern, and one we should unpack more. Wattles doesn't get into, like, the social structures and all that. But he does say not everyone starts at the same place.
So it's like, don't get stuck on what you can't control. Focus on making the most of what you can, which, I don't know, could be empowering, could be kind of tone deaf depending on your situation.
That's the heart of it, isn't it? Finding that balance. But I think even if we don't believe in the thinking stuff, literally, the idea that our thoughts affect our actions and our actions affect our reality, that's something we know is true now.
So maybe there's more to this science than it seems. Not magic, but about how connected our inner and outer worlds really are.
Exactly. And that's what makes these ideas so interesting to explore, even over 100 years later.
I'm with you. Now I'm curious, if it's not enough to think about being rich, what did Wattles actually say about how to, think and act the right way?
Great question. And that's where things get even more interesting. He was a big believer in clarity. Not just a vague idea of wanting wealth, but a super clear, detailed picture of it, almost like you already have it. Wattles uses the analogy of a sailor, with a destination in mind. It's not enough to just, dream about reaching a port. You need to keep your compass pointed in that direction, making adjustments along the way.
So applying that to getting rich, it's about keeping your focus on those goals, even when life throws curveballs and distractions at you.
Exactly. And he's not talking about some intense, constant mental strain. He suggests spending your leisure time thinking about your vision, really letting yourself feel what it would be like to have what you want.
Sorry to interrupt you guys. If you're enjoying this podcast, then don't forget to check out our official YouTube channel, Mini Books Podcast, and subscribe for more great podcasts like this one.
If you're truly drawn to something, it'll naturally capture your attention.
That makes sense. It's like those ideas that keep popping back into your mind no matter how hard you try to ignore them. Maybe Wattles would say those are the things worth paying attention to.
Exactly. But here's where it gets interesting. He says, it's not enough to just see the picture clearly. You have to believe in it. He talks about living in the new house mentally, wearing the fine clothes, experiencing the reality you want as if it's already yours.
It's like a mental dress rehearsal for the life you want to create. But how do you bridge that gap between imagining something and truly believing it's possible, especially if it seems really far off?
That's where Wattles brings back his gratitude thing. Remember how we were talking about feeling thankful before you actually have something? He believed that embodying that deep gratitude for what you want as if you already have it, that's what aligns you with the creative power of the universe to make it happen.
So it's like you're sending a powerful message to the universe. I'm ready to receive this abundance.
Exactly. And Wattles was adamant that this wasn't about begging or pleading with some external deity. He thought this creative power lived inside each of us, and by aligning our thoughts, feelings, and actions, we tap into its full potential.
So it's less about manipulating some force outside of us and more about cultivating our own inner power. That's pretty empowering. But if we take this thinking stuff seriously, it raises questions, right? Is he suggesting that this substance is actually conscious? That it's responding to us on purpose?
That's a question that's still debated today. Wattles seemed to believe that this thinking stuff was intelligent and responsive, that it wasn't just like some passive force. And, when you look at things like the placebo effect or how belief can actually change physical healing, it makes you wonder about this connection between our thoughts and reality.
It's a bit of a mind bender, but I find it compelling. So if we're constantly in this dialogue with the universe, this thinking stuff, how do we make sure we're sending the right messages?
Wattles believed the more we focus on positive thoughts, cultivate gratitude, act in line with our vision, the more we attract good things into our lives. It's about creating a positive feedback loop.
Okay, I get the principle, but it still sounds like, wishful thinking. Are we really saying that if you just think positive and practice gratitude, you'll magically become wealthy? There's got to be more to it than that, right?
You're right. Wattles wouldn't put it so simplistically. He was a big believer in action. He said, faith, unless it be combined with practice in the world, is dead. So while focusing your mind on abundance is key, you have to meet the universe halfway.
So it's not about wishing for $1 million. It's about taking inspired action towards your goals. But what does that even look like in practical terms?
That's where Wattles gets surprisingly concrete. He believed that every action, even the smallest one, could be infused with the power of your vision, your faith. One of his key phrases is, do every day all that can be done that day, and do each act in a cheerful and efficient manner.
So it's about bringing your A game to every task, even the mundane ones, approaching each day with a sense of purpose and enthusiasm. Is that what he meant by acting in a certain way?
Exactly. And for Wattles, this wasn't just about personal gain, it was about contributing to a larger good. He believed that by aligning ourselves with this creative power, we not only improve our own lives, but also contribute to a more abundant and fulfilling world for everyone.
That's a really powerful concept. So it's about aligning our actions with our values, striving for excellence in everything we do, and trusting that our efforts, however small, are contributing to something bigger than ourselves. It's a pretty radical departure from the dog-eat-dog mentality that often prevails in conversations about wealth and success.
And it's a perspective that feels incredibly relevant today, don't you think? In a world that often feels very divided and competitive, Waddle's emphasis on cooperation, abundance, and contributing to the collective good is a breath of fresh air. But he doesn't stop there. He also offers guidance on how to navigate the practicalities of creating wealth, even down to choosing the right business or career path.
Okay, now that's something I'm very interested in hearing more about. Does he have specific formula for picking the perfect career path? A formula for the perfect career, huh? Kind of want that myself. Did they have those like career quizzes back then?
Not quite, but he does give some interesting advice, actually really relevant now with so many jobs and all that. Waddles really thought that while, yeah, natural talents matter, anyone can learn to be good at almost anything.
So it's not like you're born with this one calling to like be a baker or whatever.
Exactly. He even wrote, you can get rich in any business because if you don't have the right talent for it, you can develop that talent.
Yeah,
It's like, we're not stuck with what we're good at right now. We can grow, right?
love that. Really empowering. But then so many choices. How do you even start to pick what's right for you?
Waddles was all about following your heart. He felt like true fulfillment, it comes from work that matches your passions, your values. He actually said, doing what you want to do is life. Forcing yourself into a job you hate, even if it pays well, that was a recipe for unhappiness.
That whole do what you love advice. Easier said than done, though, right?
For sure, it's a journey. But Waddles would probably say, stay open to possibilities, trust your gut feeling. When you're on the right path, the right opportunities will show up.
So stay curious, try things out, pay attention to those like gut feelings that say, this is it. Though that's easier said than done, right?
It does take work. Waddles believed that the more we think about what we want, abundance, creativity, joy, whatever, the more we start seeing it around us as like opportunities, connections.
So we're kind of training our minds to see those possibilities instead of getting stuck on what's wrong, what we doubt about ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. It's about realizing that the universe or that thinking stuff Waddles talked about, it's always trying to help us reach our goals, but we got to meet it halfway, with our own focus and effort.
This all goes back to his thing about the competitive mind, doesn't it? If we're always comparing ourselves to others, thinking there's not enough to go around, we're not going to see those opportunities, we're not going to trust that things will work out.
That's a great connection. Waddles was convinced that kind of thinking, it traps us. It's when we shift our focus to abundance, to gratitude, to helping each other, that's when we really unlock our potential as individuals and as like a society even.
Which is so relevant now, right? We hear so much about hustle culture and getting ahead no matter what. Waddles reminds us that real wealth, it's more than just money. It's about living your values, having good relationships, making a difference.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
And it shows how timeless his message is. Yeah, his writing is old-fashioned, but the core ideas, they're just as powerful today.
He's definitely given me a lot to think about. For our listeners who are into these ideas, want to learn more about Waddles, where should they start?
Well, The Science of Getting Rich is a good place to begin. Even if you don't agree with all of it, it's a really thought-provoking read, challenges how we think about success. And then I think the real work is actually using these ideas in our lives. Start small, be grateful for what you have, get clear on your vision, take those steps towards your goals, even little ones.
It's about making those choices every day that support an abundance mindset and trusting that those small actions will add up over time.
Exactly. And remember, this isn't just about manifesting a ton of money, though that might be part of it. It's about living your purpose, feeling more gratitude and joy, and making the world a better, more abundant place for everyone.
What a great message to wrap up on. This has been an amazing deep dive into Wallace D. Wattles and how relevant his ideas still are. Thanks for breaking it all down with us.
My pleasure. I always love revisiting these principles and seeing how they apply to our lives today.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to dive into more book insights and key learnings, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Mini Books Podcast, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We're back every Sunday at 9 a.m. with new books and more to learn from. Until next time, take care, keep learning, and keep growing. Remember, this is Mini Books Podcast.